welcome back Adam Green.
Thank you. Also with me is my composer, Andy Garfield, and one of the actresses in the film, Rileah Vanderbilt. You guys want to come up? I also wanted to acknowledge, I don't know if he's still in here, he just came up to me, Don Shane, who is our line producer. He's the reason why this movie was shot in Utah. He's the one who made it all possible to bring the movie here and bring all the work here. So I don't know if Don's still out there, but we're going to give him a round of applause anyway. So before we get started, just some like kind of quick stories. Where I grew up skiing in the Boston area, we had these kind of like really low red mountains, which is what we were trying to recreate here. Like I grew up skiing at this place called Wachusett and Neshoba Valley, and they were good enough, I suppose. We were mainly skiing on ice. They claimed they made their own snow, but not really. But they were only open Friday through Sunday, aside from Christmas week. I know as soon as like the trailer hit this, there's a lot of people like here we have real skiing who are like, that's impossible. What mountain would ever close? They do in New England. You can look them up. And when I would go skiing there, I mean, everybody who's ever skied before knows that feeling of being on that chair and thinking, A, how does the thing stay on? Because it doesn't look like it should. And whenever the chair stops for no reason, it's because somebody fell getting on or getting off. But they don't come over the loudspeaker and say like, that person fell and this is going to start again in a few seconds. They don't say anything, you're just left sitting there wondering about it. So sort of taking all those things together and thinking, what if it was a Sunday night? What if it was over one of those like areas where there's just no possible way that you can jump? Because a lot of the times you might be able to do it and just maim yourself, but then there's other places where there's no way. Finding those perfect conditions. So we came here to Utah because we knew we could rely on the weather, but more importantly, Utah has some of the greatest film crews there are in the United States. A lot of people think that the best film crews are only in Los Angeles because it's Hollywood, but as most people know, nobody even shoots in Hollywood anymore because they suck. So, and scouting other places, Utah's got crew members that have worked on huge movies that were really passionate about this and really excited. But when I said I wanted to shoot the whole film practically, and I refused to use a soundstage, even for the close-ups or any of that, I wanted the actors really up there, I wanted everything in the moment. It was not easy finding a crew that was willing to do that, but here people really stepped up to the plate and really delivered. Two kind of quick stories. When we were scouting, we scouted a bunch of the mountains here, and when we found ourselves at Snow Basin, we're going up the chairlift, and it's myself, Corey Neal, who's one of the producers, and a representative from the mountain. And the whole time I'm thinking, could I jump from here? Could I jump from here? Could I jump from here? And then I come across this spot where it's a 50-foot drop, and instead of saying, this is where we should shoot the film, I actually said, this is where they die. And I don't know why I said that, but the chair fucking stopped. And we're all looking at each other like, oh, that was weird. And the representative picked up her cell phone, which that doesn't work. Cell phones don't work on mountains. And she had to use a walkie-talkie that she had with her. And they said, oh, there's high winds up at the top. It'll start again in a few moments. So we were probably there for about 5 minutes. But in those 5 minutes, we were white-knuckling the sides. It was really, really terrifying. Anyway, cut to the last 2 days of shooting. And Kane Hodder, my stunt coordinator, comes up to me and says, you're really sicker than I thought. I said, why is that, Kane? He said, you didn't know the story? I said, no. And he brings me over to where the mechanics are at the mountain, and he says, tell him. And they proceeded to tell me a story. Who knows if they were making this up? But they told me that a year prior, either somebody who worked at Snow Basin or somebody who was close with somebody who worked there had gone to the mountain, climbed up Tower 5, and climbed out onto a chair that was next to the pole and killed themselves. And when they came in the morning, they saw that there was somebody sitting up in a chair. They brought the chair around, and there was somebody who had shot themselves actually in the chest in chair number 42. And they showed me the chair with the bullet hole in it. Now, we were shooting in chair 75, but we were shooting in the exact spot where somebody killed themselves, where I shouted out, "This is where they die," and the chair stopped. So very, very creepy, and through all of editing, we kept trying to come up with that 3 men and a baby thing. I'm like, just keep looking at the footage. Is there anything there? Do you hear any voices? Unfortunately, nothing. I should change that story and make something up. And then the other good story is with the wolves. Now we use real wolves for everything. Our wolf trainer is a guy named Sled Reynolds. He did Dances with Wolves, Chronicles of Narnia. He's like the wolf master. He's like the beast master. And we had 6 wolves, and what they would do when the wolves were there is they would set up this giant electric fence, and the whole crew had to stay 400 yards away from the wolves. You can't look at the wolves, you can't pet the wolves, don't even think about the wolves. All these reasons for it. Now I'm an animal lover, so as soon as they brought the wolves out, I wanted pictures to send to my mom and all these things. But he said if you look the wolves in the eyes too much, they start to think that you're part of the pack, and then they need to eliminate you. So you need to treat them like they're a prop and just not look at them. So with kind of a funny aside, in one of the reviews we read this morning about Frozen, it said everything was great about it except for the CGI wolves that looked really fake. I don't know how they get their fucking jobs, you know what I mean? Anyway, so it's the scene where Kevin Zegers is buried up to his waist with the fake broken legs in front of him, and the wolves are supposed to start circling him, and he's yelling, "Lynch, don't let her look, don't let her look." And Sled says to me, all right, well, the way that it was supposed to go, Kevin's buried, the camera's on a dolly, one wolf was going to wipe the front of the lens on a chain, the other wolf would walk behind Kevin on a chain, and that would be enough to sell to the audience that Kevin Zegers, the actor, is really there with the wolves. Then we would put in the trainer and the meat coat and all that other stuff. So Kevin's buried there, and Sled says, you know, we could let all 6 wolves go in here because they haven't eaten in about 4 days, and they don't care about him, they're going to care about the food. So if the trainers are all off to the side with the food, they're not going to pay any attention to him. I'm like, I don't really like that idea. And Kevin said, dude, let me do it, I'm really good with animals, I love animals. And I said, Kevin, Air Bud was a golden receiver, you know, like he wasn't going to eat your face. And he insists, let me do it. So for some stupid reason, I let him do it. He's buried, he can't even run if something happens. They let the wolves go, and sure enough, they're doing exactly what Sled said. They're running back and forth to the trainers who are holding food over the fence, not paying attention to Kevin. But every time he'd say the line, don't let her look, a wolf would be running by the camera and stop, look in the camera, keep going. We'd say it again, it was like wolf ass in the lens. I don't have it. And we're going and going, and then suddenly Shadow, who is the dark wolf, the black one that needed like 3 trainers on him at all times with like cattle prods and shotguns, suddenly just stops and looks at Kevin and walks right up and gets in his face and is sniffing his hat. Now, if you see the movie again, you'll see the shot where this wolf just walks right up and gets in his face. And we had to cut there because every trainer on the set had jumped over the fence and gone charging at Shadow to get him off of him. But he is like Jurassic Park with the T-Rex, and it's like on his head, and Kevin's going like this, and Sled's yelling, don't breathe, don't move, nobody do anything. And I threw up in my mouth and swallowed it. So we dig out Kevin, they get rid of Shadow, and they didn't kill Shadow, they just walked into his cage. And Kevin can't even stand, we're dragging him on the set, he's all pale, and I'm like, I think I'd like another take. And he said no. But the shot is actually in the movie, the wolf almost eating Kevin, which I thought was funny now. At the time it wasn't funny at all. Anyway, any questions from you guys right here?
Yeah, speaking of throwing up in your mouth, the 2 previous screenings that got messed up, was it during the compound fracture or pulling the hand off the bomber? Those are 2 points that I think.
Yeah, it looks like we only lost 2 at this one. I was sitting up in the back corner behind Statler and Waldorf, who, I guess I didn't realize I was sitting behind for the first 20 minutes. This is ridiculous, this is stupid. Then he like jumps like, holy shit. Yeah, it's the compound fracture. The first time we ever showed the movie was in Austin at Bud Melathon, the San Diego News does, and they played it with like Avatar at Shutter Island. The thing about Bananathon is nobody knows what they're going to see. It's a surprise. So at least here, like, you knew what you were going to see, you knew what it was about. But there, nobody knew. They showed a trailer for Hot Dog, the movie, before it, so everyone thought it was going to be a comedy, and they're laughing at the Starlight Pit joke and the smoking thing and stuff. And then Kevin jumps, and as soon as he hit the